All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Errol Spence Jr. is not taking a tune-up, but they do not know when that Terrence Crawford fight is going to happen. That is from Derek James, the trainer of Errol Spence Jr., who gives very interesting insight into the training of both Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Errol Spence Jr., the IBF and the WBC welterweight champion of the world, is like every other fighter in boxing right now, getting prepared for the eventual return of boxing. And Derek James, his trainer, gave an interview to Fight Hub that came out. I don't believe it came out yesterday or the day before. Today is the 20th of June. So I think that it did come out yesterday, the 19th. I came through my stream, came through my feed last night. I do believe that I saw it. So anyway, Derek James gives an interview to Fight Hub, and he's asked questions about Errol Spence Jr., whether or not he thought Errol Spence Jr. needed a tune-up. He was asked whether or not he believes that the Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, when that fight was going to happen, and also how he trains and what he sees, in Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo. How are their bodies and their training regimens being affected by this pandemic and the fact that people can't get out, right? So first things first, and we'll go through them. I'm gonna go through the order of them, and then I'll let you know what I think about it. And then please, at the end of the video, make sure you leave a comment. You can like it, you can share it. Please comment, engage in it in some manner. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, while I'm on that, in that same vein, I want to say special thank you to the Patreons that have been watching the videos that I've been doing lately on these non-boxing topics. Thank you so much for your interaction. I really enjoy it and love hearing what you think, because I'm sharing what I think, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right, or that you can't give me something, offer something to me that could change my viewpoint or add to it and enlighten me. And that goes for the boxing subjects as well as non-boxing subjects on Patreon. So thank you guys very much. Also, thank you to everybody that subscribes and supports in the live streams Monday through Friday, and OG Boxing Talk on Sunday through the super chats, and the channel members. Thank you guys so much. We really do have a very growing community on the channel between here and the Patreon and the memberships, and it is just a real blessing to have so many of you guys that chop it up with me about boxing and about life. But sorry, I went on a little bit long on that one, but I just had to say thank you guys. Derek James, who is he's the trainer of two world-class fighters, Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo. Now, the big question that people want to know is Errol Spence Jr. really back? And is he really going to be willing and able to fight a top-level guy like Danny Garcia, like a Terrence Crawford or Sean Porter, or does he need more time since he was in this car accident? Now, for those that don't know, but I'm sure most of you listening to this video know, Errol Spence Jr. was in a horrific car accident. Horrific. One in which he was driving. I guess it was like close to the middle of the night. And his car, he was driving a white Ferrari. The white Ferrari flipped over. Man, it looked like it flipped over 20 times in the video that I saw. Like, it was head over ever. Boom, 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 boom. Crazy. But fortunately for Errol Spence Jr., he didn't have a seatbelt on. And I do believe that the roof was also open. So in one of the first bumps that happened, he got thrown out of the car. And my understanding is from the interview that Errol Spence Jr. gave to Brian Custer is that he flew as far as 80 feet away from where the car stopped. So he got thrown a good distance, landed on concrete, but didn't break any bones, had some severe bruising and some breaking of teeth, loss of memory for the time that happened and a few days later. But other than that, the doctors gave him a clean bill of health to continue on with his boxing career. But there's a lot of people that don't believe that could really be the case. Like, how could you go through something like that and you not be injured in a major way or affected mentally or something like that, because it's just a horrendous accident. Like Bernard Hopkins also, I didn't do a separate video on this, but I'll just going to add it in this conversation because, so many hours in a day. A lot of boxing conversations going on, but only so many hours in a day I can allot to doing the videos and talking about it with you. But Bernard Hopkins said that he believed Errol Spence Jr. Is going to come back a better fighter because of it, because now he has something to fight for. He has something to prove people wrong about, and he was already a very dangerous and a dangerous and skilled fighter, but he's going to be even more one now that he really has something to fight for, because he felt as if he was going to lose his life and knows that all of these things can be taken away. But Bernard Hopkins, and even in saying that, said, hey man, but the guy's human. That thought has to cross your mind every once in a while. So that's the kind of public conversation going on about Errol Spence Jr. and whether or not this car accident of his is really going to inhibit him for the rest of his career. And there's a lot of people that don't like Errol Spence Jr. Because he's such an excellent fighter, and we rides with him over here, right? So it's going to be a lot of people, a lot of naysayers, a lot of people were saying that stuff. So to hear from Derek James, I thought, and he gave some interesting information because he talked about the specific things that people were questioning about Errol Spence Jr. And so what he said was that, number one, he got back into the gym with Errol Spence about 2 weeks into the pandemic. That would be the second week. I do believe that's about the second week of March, right? So now you're talking about almost 2.5 months of him saying that he's working out with Errol Spence Jr. 6 days a week for the last 2.5 months. So what is that, 8-10 weeks? So 6 days a week for the last 10 weeks. He's been working every day with Errol Spence. And then he talked specifically about his weight. He said, man, he's right at fight weight, like not too not too far above the weight. So if they had to go into training camp, they could go into training camp right now and be able to work on, skills, be able to work on technique, be able to work on their strategy, and not have to spend the majority of their training camp trying to get all the way back down in weight. So Errol Spence Jr., because of it could be because of the pandemic, or it could be because of his accident and his desire to get all the way back and not take things for granted, or a combination of both, is really in a good position. But then he talks also about the fact that Errol Spence Jr.'s timing is good, right? His endurance is good. So when he talked about the timing, that's the thing where you say, okay, that it takes a little bit of time for people, to get used to when they get into training camp. So all in all, he was like, look, there's no need. He said, and he was very specific. From what he saw working in the ring with Errol Spence Jr., first he said, I want what Errol wants, which is something that he always says. But I believe him when he says that there's no reason for Errol Spence Jr. to take a tune-up, because he's sharp. He looks as good as before that accident took place. And actually, right now, he's in a better place outside of training camp than he was before the Sean Porter fight. So he should actually come back in better shape, more focused and more ready to go, and more able to focus on the game plan for fights than he was before. So similar to what Bernard Hopkins is saying, Derek James is saying, hey, he thinks he could actually be better. Then the other thing that they added to it was that, excuse me, I had to make sure something went wrong. Another thing that he mentioned was, and this is very reasonable, that everybody has been out. By the time this fight happens, everybody would have been sitting out for long periods of time, and everybody's could be having problems with their timing and their knee, and how sharp they are, right? Because if you take for example the fact that I think Danny Garcia fought after. Well, let's use Terrence Crawford. I think Terrence Crawford fought in December, which was maybe a month and a half after Danny Garcia, after Errol Spence Jr. fought Sean Porter, right? Or you take Sean Porter. Sean Porter, by the time this fight happens, and this is not going to happen Errol Spence Jr.'s next fight probably is not going to happen before October. But to say it happens sometime in November, both of those guys would have sat out for a year. And Errol Spence Jr. would have had 6-7 months, right? 8 months, no longer than that, because that was in January that this accident happened. You're talking about 11 months of healing and 5 or 6 months of constant training. He could very well be more sharp than Sean Porter would be in that fight, because Sean ain't had the same motivations to get his business together that Errol Spence Jr. has. So, I agree that, and obviously my opinion of it doesn't matter, but obviously Derrick James believes in what Errol Spence is saying, that he doesn't need a tune-up. Now, unfortunately, the conversation then moved to when the Terrence Crawford fight was going to happen. And they said, man, they don't even know when that's going to happen because of the money situation, right? And the fact that you have like 6 different people, 6 different organizations, or 6 different distinct interests that you have to take into consideration when those two guys fight, versus one that is made where they're both represented by the same entity. And specifically what he means is that you have the fighters, you have the networks, and you have the promoters, right? So on both sides, it's Terrence Crawford, ESPN, and Top Rank. All of them have separate interests, and all of them need something out of it before the fight can be made. Same thing on Errol Spence Jr. You got the PBC, you got Errol Spence Jr., and you've got Fox, right? Or Showtime. I believe he's going to be primarily Fox. So those 6 parties have to get together to make a fight. And when there's not a lot of money in boxing, and for these mega fights, because there's no crowds that are there, you just don't know when the fights are going to get made. So that was his take on that. Anyway, so that's it for this video. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.